Vladislav, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all for present here. I would like to go a little bit further and address a phenomenon which I try to call a kind of alternative globalization. Because if one talks about more or less tariff regulation, more intensive or less intensive trade, I would say that these phenomena, they happened one and again, and globalization, or formerly internationalization, it came back and forth, it increased and decreased. It's kind of a pendulum movement which was in place for several centuries so far. Actually, to my mind, what we witness today is a little bit different process, because after the Cold War, the globalization for the first time became actually a very little regulated process. It was pursued not only by states, or not so much by states, but by private actors, and this, of course, developed it as a very forceful, I would say, trend in global economy. And as soon as it happened, another actors entered the stage, which were called informal, ungovernmental, a little bit criminal, at least illicit and anti-systemic. 20 years ago, one to my mind, very thoughtful analyst, Moises Naim, who was formerly the Minister of Finance, I think, for trade for Venezuela, he wrote a very interesting book called Illicit, and then he developed it into a concept of 5 wars on globalization, talking about 5 big challenges which were presented to the globalized world by illegal drug trade, violation of intellectual property rights, smuggling, and many other issues. At that time, when he wrote this book, it was a very interesting idea, but all these trends were fostered by anti-systemic forces and non-governmental agencies, or groups, or networks. So what I'm talking about today is that after the confrontation between the global powers and the global system increased, when the revisionist powers gained ground, as Russia became a clearly revisionist power, as China gets growing influence, as alliances between these powers are building up, like Russia and Iran, Russia and North Korea. So now we can see a kind of a rising global system which defies the rules which were imposed and were created by generations since the end of the Second World War. And this, another globalization, is now managed by states, not by non-state actors. And this is actually a very important issue to my mind, because what we see a non-regulated trade. First Iran, Venezuela, then Russia created a system, or a team of a so-called shadow fleet of tankers which go around the world selling oil without proper authorization. You see the rise of the government-managed mercenary armies, because the Russian army is now even not a contract army. It's an army of mercenaries. And it is rising in cooperation with Iran and North Korea, which defies every kind of even internationally recognized sanctions. The evasion of sanctions is also a process which is managed and coordinated on the interstate level. And moreover, I would say that, of course, the intellectual property rights are also not very much respected in this part of the world. And to conclude, I would say that even the system of international settlements is also challenged by different new measures which are used widely by the countries which are sanctioned by the Western powers. So therefore, my point is that we should be quite careful and insightful in looking in what is going on, because these days it's even not the system which emerged during the Cold War, because during the Cold War you had a market-oriented, democratic, liberal Western system, and a planned communist system, dominated by the authoritarian governments. Now, on both sides of the equation, on both orderly globalization and disorderly globalization, or anti-systemic globalization, there are the same forces. They are market forces, they are based on the free economy, defying most of the rules which were established. And so I will stop here just saying that, to my mind, in coming years, the major problem in the world would be not the problem of either we have more globalization or less globalization. If we have an orderly globalization or if we have a kind of anti-systemic globalization. And the fight and the contradiction between them will challenge and shape the global order for coming decades. That's my vision for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vladislav, to ask us to stay tuned because, yes, please.
Okay.
To ask us to stay tuned because there are a lot of things ongoing and we should pay attention to what's happening now because this will shape the world in the coming years.